There is a kind of discipline that doesn't break. Not when you're tired. Not when life gets chaotic. Not when every part of you is begging to stop. Most people will never experience it. Because what they call discipline is nothing more than temporary motivation. And motivation disappears the moment things get uncomfortable. But centuries ago, there were warriors who didn't rely on motivation at all. They didn't need reminders. They didn't need inspiration. They didn't need to feel ready. They operated on something far more dangerous, a system designed to eliminate hesitation itself. And once you understand it, you'll realize why everything you've tried before kept failing. In feudal Japan, deep within a quiet mountain region, there lived a boy no one took seriously. His name was Tishi, but no one called him that. They called him something else. Tishi the Lazy. Not as a joke, not as teasing, but as a fact, because everyone in the village had seen it. The same pattern, over and over again. Every morning, he would wake up with determination. This is the day. He would step outside, full of energy, full of intention. He would drop to the ground, do a few push-ups, 1, 2, 3, and then stop. His arms burned. His breath became heavy. That's enough for today. He would tell himself he'd continue later. He never did. The next day, the same thing. And the day after that, again. It didn't matter what he tried. Meditation, 2 minutes, then his mind drifted. Sword practice, 5 swings, then boredom. Running, he would quit before the sweat even settled. And every time, he made the same promise. Tomorrow will be different. But tomorrow never was. His father watched all of this in silence. A blacksmith, a man of discipline, a man who believed in one thing only: reality, not dreams, not fantasies, not illusions. One evening, after watching Tishi swing a wooden sword with no focus, he spoke. Enough. Tishi froze. Shinobi are not for people like you, his father said calmly. They are not dreamers, they are not weak, they are not inconsistent. Tishi clenched his fists. But they exist, he replied. His father looked at him, longer this time. I know they exist. That answer surprised him. But you, his father continued, will never become one of them. Silence. You will learn my trade. You will build something real, and you will forget this nonsense. But Tishi couldn't forget, because every night he saw them. Not clearly, not directly, but shadows, movement across rooftops, figures disappearing into darkness. Something real, something disciplined, something he was not. And that ate at him. Days passed. Nothing changed. Same promises. Same failures. Same excuses. Until one afternoon, everything shifted. Tishi was walking back from the forest. Another failed attempt behind him. Another tomorrow waiting ahead. When he saw someone standing in the middle of the path. A man. Simple clothes. No armor. No visible weapons. Nothing special. Except his presence. It was different. Still. Controlled. Like he wasn't reacting to the world, but observing it. You want to become a shinobi. It wasn't a question. Tishi felt his chest tighten. I was just wasting time. The man stepped forward. Not aggressively, but directly. How many times today did you promise yourself you would change? Tishi said nothing, because he knew. Too many to count. Come with me. The man turned and began walking toward the mountains. No explanation. No persuasion. Just movement. Tishi hesitated. The mountains were far. Steep. Cold. Unforgiving. If you can keep up, the man said without turning around, I'll show you where the training happens. A pause. If not, go home and accept who you are. That moment felt different. Not emotional. Not dramatic. Clear. Brutally clear. For the first time, Tishi saw himself without excuses. Not unlucky. Not misunderstood. Weak. Because he never followed through. I'll go. The first part of the climb was easy. Too easy. Tishi even felt confident. This isn't so bad. But confidence is always the first illusion to break. After 30 minutes, his legs began to burn. After an hour, his breathing became unstable. After 2 hours, his mind turned against him. This is pointless. You're not built for this. You can try again tomorrow. The same voice. The same pattern. The same escape. But this time, something was different. The man never stopped. Never slowed down. Never looked back. He didn't care if Tishi followed. And somehow, that made it worse. 2 hours and 30 minutes in, Tishi collapsed. Hands on the ground. Sweat dripping. Vision blurred. Everything inside him screamed, "Stop it." And in that exact moment, he realized something. The pain didn't matter. The exhaustion didn't matter. The doubt didn't matter. Only one thing mattered. The decision he made at the bottom. I said I would. And for the first time in his life, he didn't negotiate with himself. He stood up and kept walking. When he reached the top, his body gave out. He dropped to his knees. Then darkness. When he opened his eyes again, everything had changed. He was inside a wooden structure. Silent, still, cold air, controlled atmosphere. The man sat in front of him, watching. "You completed your first lesson," he said. Tishi blinked. "I didn't teach you anything." A pause. "You taught yourself." Tishi tried to sit up. His body resisted. "What lesson?" The man leaned forward slightly. And for the first time, there was something behind his eyes. Recognition. "You learned what happens when you stop negotiating." Silence filled the room. "Welcome," the man said calmly, "to the beginning of who you could become." And in that moment, Tishi didn't feel stronger. He didn't feel confident. He didn't feel ready. But something far more important had begun. For the first time in his life, he had followed through. And that changes everything. The next sound Tishi heard was not gentle. It wasn't like waking up in his village. No soft sunlight. No slow morning. It was a bell. Loud, heavy, violent. It didn't just ring in the air. It rang inside his skull. Tishi's eyes snapped open. For a second, he didn't know where he was. Then it hit him. The mountain. The man. The climb. This was real. He forced himself up. Every muscle in his body screamed. His legs felt like stone. His arms trembled just from pushing himself upright. But something strange caught his attention. He wasn't alone. 15 other young men stood in the room. Already awake. Already dressed. Already still. No one was stretching. No one was complaining. No one looked tired. They just stood there waiting. The man from the mountain entered. Calm, silent, controlled. "From this moment on," he said, "you are no longer who you were." His voice wasn't loud, but it carried weight, the kind that didn't allow questions. In this place, there are no attempts. A pause. Only two states. He looked directly at Tishi. "You are or you are not." Tishi swallowed. Something about those words felt dangerous. "Final." The bell rings, the master continued. "You wake up. No explanation. No flexibility. No discussion. That is all." Tishi raised his hand slightly. "Sensei, what time?" The master's gaze cut through him instantly. Sharp, cold, enough to silence him before he could finish. "Time is irrelevant," the master said. "Your opinion is irrelevant." A step forward. The bell rings. Another step. You wake. And just like that, the rules were clear. The first days felt like punishment. Not training. Punishment. Before sunrise, the bell. 1 hour of complete silence. Sitting still. No movement. No distraction. Just your thoughts. And for Tishi, that was the worst part. Because his thoughts didn't support him. They attacked him. "You don't belong here. You're going to fail. You've always failed." After that, physical training. Relentless. Push-ups. Squats. Balance drills. Movements that burned deeper than anything he had felt before. No breaks. No encouragement. No good job. Then study. Strategy. Observation. Awareness. Then more training. Until the sun disappeared. By the third day, Tishi was breaking. Not physically. Mentally. His body could endure pain. But his mind kept searching for escape. "Maybe I should rest today. One day won't matter. You can start properly tomorrow." The same voice. The same pattern. The same trap. But here something had changed. Back in the village, no one saw him quit. Here, everyone would. On the first night, all students were gathered in the main hall. One by one, they stepped forward and spoke. Not softly, not casually, but clearly. "I am a student of this path. My word is my life. If I break my word, I am nothing." When it was Tishi's turn, his chest tightened. Because this wasn't a promise. This felt like something else. Something heavier. But he stepped forward and said the words. And in that moment, something shifted. Because now, it wasn't private anymore. The next morning, his body refused to move. Pain everywhere. Heavy, slow, weak. His mind immediately began negotiating. "You're injured. You need recovery. Skip just this once." Tishi stayed still for a few seconds. Then he looked around. Everyone else was already standing. No hesitation. No complaints. No negotiation. And suddenly, the weight hit him. If he stayed down, it wouldn't just be failure. It would be visible failure. And something deeper than motivation pushed him. He stood up, not because he felt strong, but because he refused to be seen as weak. Days passed, then weeks. The routine didn't change, not even slightly. Same time, same sequence, same expectations. And that's when Tishi noticed something strange. He was still waking up. He was still training. He was still following the system. But inside, there was still hesitation. Every morning, before moving, there was a moment, a small pause, a silent question. Do I really have to? The master saw it. Of course he did. You are still deciding, he told Tishi one morning. Tishi frowned. But I haven't failed. The master stepped closer. Action without certainty is fragile. A pause. As long as you are deciding, you are still weak. Those words hit harder than any training. What should I do? Tishi asked. The master turned away slightly. You remove the decision. Silence. You think discipline is about forcing yourself, he continued. It's not. It's about removing the need to choose. Tishi didn't understand. So the master explained. Every morning, you waste energy asking questions. When should I wake up? How should I train? How long should I continue? Each question is a crack. And through that crack, weakness enters. Tishi listened carefully. So what's the solution? The master looked at him. Calm. Certain. You eliminate variation. A pause. You wake up at the same time. You train in the same order. You repeat the same actions. No change. No creativity. No negotiation. Tishi blinked. That sounds limiting. The master almost smiled. It is. A step closer. And that is why it works. Because your mind cannot escape structure. That same day, Tishi received a new instruction. For the next 100 days, the room felt heavier. You will follow one sequence. Exactly the same. Same movements. Same repetitions. Same order. No changes. Tishi hesitated. 100 days without variation. The master nodded. Without exception. And in that moment, Tishi realized something. This wasn't about training anymore. This was about control. Not controlling the world, but controlling himself. And for the first time, that felt harder than anything else. Because pain is simple. But repetition, without escape, without chain, without relief, that breaks something deeper. And Tishi had no idea yet what exactly was about to break inside him. By the second week, Tishi understood something no one had warned him about. Pain was not the hardest part. Repetition was. Every morning, the same bell. Every movement, the same sequence. Every day, identical. At first, his body resisted. Then his mind did something worse. It rebelled. This is pointless. You're not improving. You're just repeating like a machine. The voice was louder now. More convincing. Because it wasn't asking him to quit completely. It was offering something smarter. Just change a little. Try something new today. Improve the system. That's how discipline breaks. Not in obvious ways, but in small, reasonable, justified changes. Tishi almost gave in. Almost. But then he remembered something. The boy who got expelled. Not for failing, but for doubting. So he stayed with the form. Week 3. Something strange happened. The resistance didn't disappear. It weakened. His mind still complained, but quieter, less convincing. Week 4. The complaints became background noise. And then, week 6 arrived. Tishi was in the middle of his routine. Push-ups, same count, same rhythm. And suddenly, he noticed something. He wasn't thinking. No internal voice. No negotiation. No resistance. His body was moving. On its own. Not like a robot. Like water. Flowing through a path it had learned so deeply. It no longer needed guidance. For the first time, he experienced silence. Not outside. Inside. That day changed everything. Because now, training wasn't something he forced. It was something that happened. Automatically. Days passed. The pattern became stronger. Deeper. Unbreakable. Until the moment. Everything was tested. Day 47. Tishi woke up sick. Heavy head. Weak body. No energy. The old voice returned instantly. This is your chance. You need rest. Skipping today is logical. And for a moment, it made sense. Completely. Tishi sat still, thinking. Then he stood up. But not fully. Not strongly. Just enough. He approached the master. "Sensei, I'm sick." The master looked at him. Calm as always. "Then train." Tishi hesitated. At full intensity. The master shook his head. "No." A pause. But not at zero. Those words hit differently. "Your problem," the master continued, "is that you believe discipline is all or nothing. If it's not perfect, you stop. That is why you always fail." Tishi listened carefully. "When you are weak," the master said, "you reduce. But you never remove. A river in drought becomes small. But it never disappears. If it disappears, it is no longer a river." Silence. That day, Tishi trained. Not fully. Not perfectly. But he moved. Half the repetitions. Half the strength. But not zero. And that changed something fundamental. Because the pattern didn't break. The next day, his body returned stronger. No resistance. No reset. As if nothing had happened. That was the moment Tishi understood. Consistency is not about perfection. It's about continuity. Days turned into weeks. Weeks into months. Storms came. One night, heavy rain flooded the training grounds. The students looked at each other. Finally, a reason to stop. Tishi walked to the master. "Where do we train?" The master pointed outside. "In the rain." Tishi didn't question it. Because now, he understood. Conditions don't matter. Only execution does. Day 100 arrived quietly. No celebration. No announcement. Just the final repetition. The final breath. The final movement. And then, nothing. No excitement. No pride. Just stillness. The master approached him. "How do you feel?" Tishi thought for a moment. "Empty." A pause. But clear. The master nodded. "What you feel is the absence of conflict. Silence. You have removed the part of you that argues. The part that negotiates. The part that hesitates." Tishi understood. Because it was true. There was no voice anymore. No should I. No maybe later. No not today. Only action. Automatic. Immediate. Unquestioned. The master spoke one final time. "This is the final stage. A mind without hesitation. A mind without resistance. A mind without conflict. Mushin. Tishi lowered his head. Because now, he finally understood. He didn't become stronger. He didn't become more motivated. He didn't become special. He became someone who no longer needed to decide. And that is the most dangerous kind of discipline. Months later, a new student asked him a simple question. How do you never fail? Tishi looked at him. Calm. I removed failure as an option. The student frowned. How? Tishi answered quietly. I removed the person who used to choose it. Silence. Because that's the truth no one wants to hear. Discipline is not about adding something new. It's about removing what's already weak. And when that part disappears, what remains is someone who simply does what must be done. No matter what. Every single day.